My daughter, who lives abroad, sent me a box of what I was told were very expensive strawberries. I happily washed them 3 times in salt water as she had instructed. Just as I was about to eat one, my grandson, not yet a year old, started crying. By the time I came back out after feeding him, only a few strawberry leaves were left on the coffee table. My husband of 35 years blamed me for being careless, for using a colander to hold the strawberries. I don't know what you do all day. Look at all this water on the coffee table. My son, swallowing the last strawberry, didn't even look up from his phone game. Mom, these are delicious. Ask my sister where she bought them. I want to get some for Chloe. She's been working so hard lately. I need to treat her. Staring at the puddle of water on the table, I suddenly felt that this life was meaningless. So, I turned and called my daughter. That visa you and I talked about last time. Is it still possible to apply for it? Later, my daughter posted a video of me picking giant strawberries in another country. Smiling so brightly I looked 10 years younger. The father and son saw it, their eyes turning red. It was just a strawberry. Why won't she come back? You're an old woman, yet you're still so clumsy. I really don't know how you managed to be a grandmother. My husband, Walter, sat back on the chaise lounge with his legs crossed, took a long drag from his cigarette, and mumbled through the smoke. And you want to be a nanny for someone else? You'll be lucky if they don't find you annoying. Looking at the face I had seen for 35 years, I suddenly felt a wave of nausea, as if I were looking at a pile of runny dog droppings in the vegetable patch back home. I walked over and stubbed out his cigarette. The action was so sudden that Walter was stunned for a long moment. Are you crazy? I picked up a cloth and wiped the water from the coffee table. Chloe said not to smoke in the house. Leo is still little. He can't be exposed to secondhand smoke. Walter glared. I'm not smoking next to my grandson. What's the big deal? The smoke will clear in a minute. When he tried to light another one, I slammed the cloth down on the table. I said you can't. The sudden rise in my voice finally caught the attention of my son, Mark. He looked up from his phone screen, confused, glanced at me, then at his father, and without a word, got up and went to his bedroom, shouting into his phone, "Go, go, I'll take the tower." My temper is famously soft. In all our years of marriage, I had rarely raised my voice at Walter. Whenever I showed the slightest displeasure, he would say, "Rose, feeling bold now, are we? Have you forgotten that I've been working day and night all these years to support you? A person should be content." Just like now. After I yelled at him, he puffed out his chest and started making threats. "I think you're going senile. What's gotten into you? If you don't like the smoke, then get out of this house. Leave my house if you've got the guts. This is my house too. It's our shared marital property. What right do you have to kick me out?" Lily had taught me that line. Ever since she became independent, she always said I was a pushover, letting her father walk all over me for decades. She wanted me to be tougher. Women hold up half the sky. Mom, are you really going to let them treat you like this for the rest of your life? You're only in your 50s. Instead of being their old crone, why don't you come see the world with me? I would mumble, not knowing how to argue with her. For decades, I had lived most of my life this way. No one ever told me it was wrong. My mother, who died young, and Lily's grandmother both said that the man is the sky, and a woman should yield and endure for the sake of family harmony. But Lily said that was wrong. A family is built by a couple together. A man who earns money is just as valuable as a woman who raises children. There's no rule that says a woman must serve a man. Lily had said it so many times that I'd learned a thing or two, and now was the time to use it. He shouted. So I shouted back. Walter had never seen me so defiant. For a moment, he was speechless, panting like an old ox. But in the end, he didn't light another cigarette. I looked down at the empty colander. Lily bought those strawberries for me, I said softly. I didn't even get to eat one. What? Walter didn't seem to understand. I repeated myself. He was incredulous. You're throwing a tantrum at me over a strawberry. How old are you? Still so greedy. Yes, it was over a strawberry. But I had served my in-laws, managed the household, and raised 2 children. In all these years, I had never eaten a strawberry. When I was young, we couldn't afford them. Now that I was old, I wanted to eat one strawberry. And my husband called me greedy. Fine. If you want to eat them, go buy a pound yourself. I've never seen such a greedy old woman. Walter's face was dark, his posture one of magnanimous forgiveness. He was surely waiting for me to back down as I always did. But I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't even want to look after my grandson. I slowly found my ID and passport in the bedroom and left. Lily had gotten me a passport 6 months ago, wanting me to visit her in Australia. But my daughter-in-law had just given birth, and I couldn't get away. Now, hearing that I had decided to visit, she was overjoyed and arranged for a friend to help me apply for the visa. The young woman was very kind, helping me with everything and never once getting impatient with my confusion. Auntie, it will take a week at most. I'll let you know as soon as it's approved. A week. Not long. On the way home, the air felt exceptionally sweet. And even the little dog in the elevator seemed adorable. I had always been afraid of dogs. But today, for some reason, I found the courage to pet the big golden retriever. It wasn't as scary as I'd imagined. It even wagged its tail at me. This good mood lasted until I reached my front door. Before I even stepped inside, I heard my daughter-in-law, Chloe, losing her temper. Is he not your son? You can't even be bothered to watch him for a second. Letting such a small child go hungry. Is everyone in this family dead? I paused, then walked in as if I hadn't heard anything. Seeing me, Mark, who had been hanging his head like a chastised child, seemed to have found the culprit. Mom, where have you been all afternoon? Leo was crying his eyes out from hunger. Walter also seemed to spring back to life. He emerged from the bedroom with his hands behind his back, his face grim. If you're going out, you should take Leo with you. We don't know how to soothe him. My grandson cried all afternoon. Don't you know to let someone know if you're leaving? Coming back so late, not even making dinner. I guess the whole family can just starve. Thinking that I would be seeing my daughter in a few days, I didn't want to argue with him, but I couldn't hold it in. If you don't know how, then learn. Lily had said it. No one is born knowing how to cook, do laundry, or soothe a child. Walter had never washed a single piece of clothing or a single dish in his life. From today on, I wouldn't either. If you don't know how to cook, learn. If you can't learn, go hungry. Perhaps because of our argument that afternoon, Walter, seeing I was still angry, kept his mouth shut. But Mark, who had just been yelled at, was still fuming. Mom, what's wrong with you? Are you trying to tear this family apart? Chloe worked all day, and I finally have a day off. You're the only one who's free. If you don't cook, who will? I couldn't be bothered to argue with them. I went to my room, leaving the three of them staring at each other in the living room, murmuring behind the closed door. Dad, what's going on? I don't know. All temper and no sense. It's like a hole opened up in her mouth because she missed out on one strawberry. She's gone crazy. Seriously. Over that. If I'd known, I would have saved a couple. Besides, can't we just buy more tomorrow? Chloe didn't join in. She took the baby and went to her mother's house. I didn't cook that night. I didn't make breakfast the next day either. For the first time in ages, I slept in. Outside, chaos had already erupted. Mark was running late for work. Mom, where did you put my white shirt? I have a meeting today. Did you iron it? I didn't wash it. Then what am I supposed to do? Mark was dumbfounded. Walter followed behind him, urging me to get up. Fine. You didn't do the laundry, but your son is about to leave for work. Can you get up and make some noodles? I need to eat before I go fishing with old Mr. Lee. I simply pulled the blanket over my head. Am not feeling well. You can make it yourselves. There was a few seconds of silence outside the blanket. Then Walter snorted. If you want cook, I'll eat out. Do you think the world stops turning without you? See if you can keep this up forever. The whole family eating out every day. Let's see how long you last. I can last 6 days, I thought. Then you'll have to cook whether you like it or not. After they left, I got up and went to see an old friend. She was lucky. Her husband had died young, and she'd benefited from a second round of demolitions and relocations. Now she lived a wonderful life, going out for square dancing every day. When she heard I was going abroad, she dragged me to a high-end department store. You're going abroad. You have to buy some nice clothes. Look at what you're wearing. It's all faded. I've seen you in this outfit for 10 years. The full-length mirror next to us reflected the frayed edges of my cuffs and the awkwardness in my posture. For a moment, I was in a daze. 35 years ago, I was a young girl who loved to dress up. When we got married, Walter had even promised to let me be a young girl forever. Time had been cruel. In the blink of an eye, I had become an old woman. My friend picked out several outfits for me, generously offering to buy them. I repeatedly refused. I was used to being frugal. I only took one piece. And even that one cost $300. My heart pounded a little. But then I thought, the dusty fishing rods Walter kept at home were much more expensive than this outfit. With that thought, I picked another one, bringing the total to a lucky $800, and bought them. When I got home, Mark wasn't back from work yet, but Walter was. He was leaning on the sofa unnaturally, eyeing me from the corner of his eye. My gaze swept past him and landed on the fruit bag on the coffee table. Seeing that I noticed, Walter lifted his chin arrogantly. It's only 20-something a pound. And you make such a fuss. Hurry up and eat them. Then go make dinner. The bag was open, revealing a dozen wilted, sad-looking strawberries. Clearly leftovers that had been sitting out for days. They weren't washed. Walter, of course, had no intention of eating such bruised fruit himself. They were bought for me. It had always been like this. The best food went to the husband who earned money, then to the children. I ate the leftovers, the bruised parts. Back then, life was hard for everyone. A little hardship didn't seem like much. But now, Walter had a monthly pension, and the children were grown. I didn't want to eat them anymore. I threw the bag of strawberries into the trash right in front of him. Before he could explode, I spoke first. They've gone bad. They can't be eaten. Then, while he was still stunned, I turned and went into the kitchen. Before coming home, my daughter-in-law had called to say her father was coming over tonight. He was a guest. After all, I couldn't let him go hungry. Chloe came from a single-parent family. Her father had suffered a stroke before the new year and was paralyzed on one side. He seemed worse now, arriving in a wheelchair. As soon as we sat down at the dinner table, Chloe proposed that her father move in with us. Mom, my dad can't be left alone. I did the math, and hiring a caregiver would cost at least $6,000 a month. Mark and I together make less than $20,000. It's just not worth it. Why don't we have him move in here after this caregiver leaves? The whole family can look after him. We have a spare storage room. We can clear it out for my dad. We can rent out his current apartment, and the rent can help with living expenses. Before I could say anything, Walter and Mark had already agreed. Of course. Of course. A son-in-law is half a son. It's our duty to be filial. Don't worry, Chloe. With all of us here, we'll definitely take good care of him. The braised pork ribs I had specially prepared for our guests tasted like wax in my mouth. Amidst their chorus of agreement, I looked up at Walter and Mark. Are you going to be the ones taking care of him? My son and daughter-in-law had to work every day. Walter was a man who wouldn't lift a finger around the house. The burden would undoubtedly fall on me. The memories of tirelessly caring for Walter's parents day and night flooded my mind. A sick elderly person can't be hit or scolded, but they're often restless and draining. It was truly exhausting. I had finally seen my sick in-laws off, and now they wanted me to care for a semi-paralyzed man. The thought was suffocating. My voice was soft, but it instantly froze the atmosphere at the table. Walter frowned. You've been in a foul mood for days. What is it you want? It's just taking care of a semi-paralyzed man. You're used to it. Why can't you do it now? He put down his bowl. Rose, you spent $800 of my dollars this afternoon. What kind of clothes did you buy? Are they made of gold? Fine. I'll let it slide. But you're pushing your luck. If you keep this up, I won't give you another penny. You're an old woman. You don't care about your son. You don't care about your grandson. Are you planning to leave this family? Be like those indecent women out there, causing a scene and asking for a divorce at your age. The word divorce made me freeze. Yes, divorce. Why hadn't I thought of that before? Seeing my silence, Walter softened his tone. I know you're upset. That's why I went out of my way to buy you strawberries this afternoon. A person should be content. Mark nodded vigorously. Exactly. Mom, am I not your son? Is it so hard to help us out? Mark looked exactly like his father in his youth, his face full of disapproval, as if I owed him something. Do whatever you want. I'm not doing it. As the words left my mouth, Walter's bowl came flying at me. It shattered on the floor with a loud crash. Fine. We don't need you. It's just taking care of one person. Do you really think this family can't function without you? If you won't do it, I will. Mark. From now on, you don't have this mother anymore. I clutched my forehead, which was now bleeding, and couldn't process what had happened for a long moment. By the time I came to my senses, everyone had left the table. Mark was still muttering, "Mom, don't blame Dad. You went too far, making a big deal out of nothing." That night, I asked my daughter about getting a divorce. The father and son were true to their word. As soon as the caregiver left, Chloe's father's luggage was moved in. At the same time, Lily told me my expedited visa was approved. The flight was booked for the morning after tomorrow. "Mom, don't worry about a thing. You'll see me as soon as you get off the plane." Perhaps it was a mother-daughter telepathy. I didn't tell the father and son, and neither did Lily. On the first day of his father-in-law's arrival, Walter, true to his word, began to care for him. But he retched for a long time while changing the diaper and vomited while giving him a sponge bath. After just one day of care, he started complaining as soon as Mark got home. "My back is breaking." And some people act like they don't see it, just sitting on the sofa watching TV all day. Their conscience must have been eaten by a dog. I pretended not to hear and quietly tended to the potted plants on the balcony. These two begonias were finicky. Too much or too little water would kill them. I couldn't take them with me, so I had to give them to my old friend. Walter continued his passive-aggressive remarks, and Mark joined in with his own snide comments. They both stared at me, waiting for me to give in again, to say the things they wanted to hear. But I just turned and went into my bedroom. I knew this father and son too well. They were counting on my soft heart. They would take on the responsibility first, and then, when they couldn't handle it, they would dump it all on me. But this time, they were in for a rude awakening. After more than 30 years together, Walter had never seen me refuse to bend. He kept thinking I wouldn't be so heartless. That evening, his friend Mr. Lee called to invite him fishing the next day. He agreed without a second thought. He deliberately put the call on speakerphone so I would hear. But since he didn't ask me directly, I pretended I hadn't heard. The next morning, I left the house before him. I never expected that when I returned, my key wouldn't open the door. It was a brand new lock. I called Mark. He stammered for a long time before managing to say, "Mom, can you just apologize to Dad? I have to work. I can't get involved in your adult problems." At that point, I understood. Walter had done it on purpose. I had kept him from leaving the house, so he was keeping me from entering it. Through the security door, I heard his angry voice. "Decided to come back, have you? You like running around outside so much. Then just stay out there forever." I stood outside the door for a long time. For some reason, all the memories of the past flashed through my mind like a movie, finally freezing on one particular moment. When we were young, Walter and I had a similar fight. I had just given birth to Mark and was still recovering when I found out my husband was flirting with a widow next door. That was the biggest fight we ever had. I ran back to my parents' house, crying and holding Mark. I had thought about divorce back then, but after less than a week at my parents' house, I overheard my sister-in-law complaining to my brother. "We're already struggling, and now there are 2 more mouths to feed. Whoever heard of a married woman coming back home to leech off her family?" My mother also advised me, "All men are like that. As long as he comes home, he's a good man. For the sake of the children, just endure it. You're married now. A daughter married off is like water splashed out. We can't interfere too much." I belatedly realized I had no home to go back to, so I had to return, tail between my legs. Walter had locked me out that time too, only opening the door when Mark was crying himself breathless. He had that I knew it look on his face, just like now, mocking me. "Decided to come back, have you?" Last night, my daughter had asked me why I suddenly wanted a divorce. I didn't know how to answer her then, but now, I had an answer. The things I didn't have the courage to do when I was young, I couldn't just not do them for my entire life, could I? Fortunately, my luggage was already at my old friend's house. Staying over for one night wasn't a problem. The next morning, my friend drove me to the airport. Before boarding, Mark sent me a message. "Mom, can you not be so stubborn? Is it that hard to call Dad and apologize? You're making things so awkward for me and your daughter-in-law." Walter also sent me a message. "Rose, you've really grown some nerve. Fine. I won't hold you back. Let's just get a divorce." I replied with a single word, "Okay," then turned off my phone and switched to the new SIM card Lily's friend had gotten for me. My friend smiled beside me. Really getting a divorce? I smiled back. I still have a lot of life left to live. Time for a new way of living. In 30-something years of marriage, Walter had never felt so overwhelmed. He had just sent his wife a message offering a way out and called his son. Let's see how long your mom can last out there. She'll come crawling back eventually. Dad, I'm with you. I tried to talk to Mom too. It'll be fine. You just watch him for a few more days, and then Mom can take over. But before he could finish the call, his paralyzed father-in-law was shouting from the living room that he needed his diaper changed. In the bedroom, his grandson, who could barely speak, was wailing from hunger, demanding milk. He rushed from the old to the young. In his hurry, he dropped the glass baby bottle, and the freshly prepared milk spilled all over the floor. Seeing his grandson crying hysterically, he frantically grabbed a mop, slipped on the wet floor, and hit his head on the corner of the bed. His vision went black. When he came to, his grandson's face was red from crying. He rubbed his bruised arm and limped to make another bottle of formula. After his grandson finished his milk and fell into a sweet sleep, Walter sat by the bed, staring out the window, motionless. For some reason, he suddenly thought of 30 years ago, when his wife, Rose, had just given birth to Mark. Their daughter, Lily, was only 2. In the middle of winter, she had fallen into a manure pit. The stench was overwhelming. He had been disgusted and had yelled at his wife to clean her up. They didn't have a water heater back then. Bathing required boiling water. By the time his wife had the water ready, Lily's lips were already blue from the cold. And at that very moment, 2-month-old Mark got hungry and started crying, just like Leo is now. His wife was frantic. Walter, can you feed the baby? There's rice cereal in the cupboard. I can't manage. What had he said back then? You need me for such a small thing. Haven't you eaten? Ugh. It stinks. Get away from me. And then he hadn't fed the baby. He had used the excuse of working late to go out and play cards. When he returned, his son was fed and sleeping soundly, and his daughter was clean. Walter had never thought about how Rose had managed to care for both children at once. He had only thought that she was perfectly capable of doing it. So why did she have to ask him? Was she just trying to make trouble? But now, for some reason, he suddenly remembered this trivial incident from so many years ago. After that, Rose had never asked him to help with the children again. She had made his life easy for a lifetime. Walter had thought his life would always be this smooth. He never imagined that one day, his wife of 30-something years would go on strike. She wouldn't cook, wouldn't do the dishes, wouldn't help their son, and wouldn't even care for their grandson. It was as if she were possessed, spouting nonsense about gender equality. What nonsense was that? When had men and women ever been equal? Thinking of this, he remembered the message he had sent Rose. Fine, he thought. We're an old married couple. It's pointless to keep fighting like this. Maybe I should just take a step back and apologize. We can't stay at a stalemate forever. But when he picked up his phone, put on his reading glasses, and tried to compose a gentler message, he saw only a single, solitary word in the chat box from her. Okay what? Divorce. At the end of my first month in Australia, Lily told me that her friends, the couple next door, wanted to hire me. They were a young couple who didn't know how to cook but loved food from our hometown. They had tried my cooking once and had been thinking about it ever since. Lily hugged my arm and said playfully, I don't want you to go, Mom. My salary is high enough to support both of us, but I want to know what you think. I hesitated, rubbing my hands together shyly. Can I really do it? I only know how to make simple home-cooked meals. Nothing fancy. I had never really worked a proper job in my life. With 2 children, sick in-laws, and so much to do at home, there was never time. When we lived in the countryside, I used to raise pigs. When they were fat, we would slaughter them. But the money from selling the pork rarely came to me. Walter kept a tight grip on the finances. After we moved to the city and the kids were in school, I did some piecework at home. The pay was low, just enough to buy them a few new clothes and some treats. This was the first time I had received such a formal job offer. Lily's eyes widened. Mom, do you have any idea how amazing you are? Your cooking is better than a Michelin-starred chef's. I've been telling you, Dad and my brother don't know how good they have it. They have a treasure like you and don't even cherish it. She always knew how to flatter me. I pursed my lips, hesitated for a moment, and then said tentatively, "Well, maybe I could give it a try." I had come to Australia on a short-term family visit visa, but Lily had since applied for a temporary parent visa for me, which was much longer. If I was going to stay, I couldn't just sit around at home all day, especially since Lily was busy with work. So, after thinking about it for 2 days, I decided to do it. When the young couple heard I had agreed, they were so happy they came over after work that same day to thank me repeatedly. "Auntie Rose, I'm literally crying. You saved our lives. From now on, you're my real mom." They explained that because of my visa status, they couldn't officially hire me in the conventional way, but they still gave me a formal job offer card. It made me feel quite embarrassed. From that day on, I started working every day. The young couple was like that golden retriever in the elevator. As soon as it was mealtime, they would start wagging their tails at me. "God, Mom, what are we having today? That eggplant casserole you made yesterday was so good it made my eyebrows fall off. Wow. Sweet and sour pork. God, Mom, is there anything you can't make? You're amazing. God, Mom. God, Mom, can I request a dish today? I want braised pork. Oh, and did you make soup dumplings today? Maybe I can just take them home, so you don't have to come over and steam them for us in the morning." Lily rolled her eyes from the side. "You just want to eat them tonight, don't you? My mom only made 50. Are you planning to eat them all at once?" After a month of this, Lily gave me my salary. It's hard for them to pay you formally, but their company has a partnership with mine, so they gave me a little something that I've converted into your salary. It was a thick stack of cash. I counted it. Several thousand. How much is that in our currency? My eyes nearly popped out of my head. Lily chuckled. $1 is about 4.5 of ours. You can do the math. As soon as she said it, the money felt hot in my hands. I had never held so much money at once in my life. This is too much. Lily must have secretly added some of her own, but she just lifted her chin. For my mom's cooking, this is still too little. You have no idea how many people are lining up to eat your soup dumplings. At that, she seemed to remember something, and her smile faded. "Mom, old Walter called me. I had changed my SIM card, so Walter and Mark couldn't reach me. In the first few days after I left, they had sent messages to Lily, complaining, Our mom is getting old and more unreasonable. She's ignoring everything at home and running off who knows where." Lily had listened to their complaints coldly and then told me, "This is why I don't get married. The two men in our family have no conscience. I've seen through them." I felt guilty for providing her with such a poor upbringing. My only consolation was that when Walter had refused to let her go to university, I had gritted my teeth, saved every penny, and borrowed money from my old friend to pay for her tuition and living expenses. She had always been a good student, always first in her class. When she heard Walter didn't want to send her to university, she had cried until her eyes were swollen. Am I not Dad's daughter? Why can Mark get a pair of expensive shoes so easily, but I can't even get an education? Why does he say daughters are inferior to sons? What am I lacking? I refuse to believe it. If I make something of myself, I'll make sure you live a good life. The boldest and most correct thing I did in the first half of my life was probably to defy Walter and send Lily to school. Otherwise, my daughter might have ended up like me, married to a mediocre man, living a mediocre life, where even eating a single strawberry was a gift. On the 15th day of my stay in Australia, Walter finally broke. A grandson who cried day and night, endless laundry and dishes, a house that was never clean, burnt meals every day, plus a paralyzed father-in-law was physically and mentally exhausted. He finally remembered my worth and called Lily in the middle of the night. "Lily, your mother's heart is truly hard. My back is breaking, and I can't sleep at night. Can you help me talk to her? Tell her to come back, or I'm really going to die here. I know I was wrong. When she comes back, I'll buy her strawberries every day." Lily found it amusing and told him bluntly, "Dad, Mom's with me." Walter was silent for nearly a minute. Then he went crazy. "Your mother went abroad. She really went abroad. When did she leave? You two really kept us in the dark." Before he could start cursing, Lily hung up. My old friend told me that phone call sent Walter to the hospital with anger in the middle of the night. The good news was that he was in decent health and it was nothing serious. The bad news was that he came out a changed man, constantly muttering about buying strawberries. Now, Mark had to care for 2 sick old men and a child. In just 1 month, he had lost so much weight he was unrecognizable. They had no choice but to hire a nanny. Seeing that there were 2 elderly people and a child to care for, the nanny demanded a salary of $13,000, and that was a friendly price. They finally negotiated it down to $11,000. When Mark found out I was abroad, he tried every way to contact me. As soon as the call connected, he started crying. "Mom, don't you want your son anymore? I'm exhausted. Dad and I know we were wrong. Please come back. I miss you." Hearing the son I had loved for decades cry, it was impossible not to feel something. But I truly didn't know how to face Mark. I had carried him for 10 months. He was a piece of my own flesh. I had watched him grow from a tiny baby into the man he was today. When he was little, he would feel sorry for me when I cut my hand chopping wood. When Walter would slap me in a drunken rage, he would hug me and say softly, "Don't cry, Mommy." He had once promised to take me around the world and treat me to all the best food when he grew up. But that piece of my flesh had eventually become just like his father. A sharp knife that had stabbed me deeply. Now he was crying to me, saying he was wrong, that he would be a good son from now on. But I didn't believe him anymore. Perhaps Lily was right. They weren't sorry for what they did. They just regretted it. They regretted not leaving me a single strawberry that day. And, because of that, my heart had finally died. When strawberries were in season again the following year, Lily drove me to pick a whole bunch of them. There were white ones, red ones, and even beautiful pink ones. She took many pictures of me and posted them on her international social media account. The caption read, "Strawberry Feast. Mom deserves all the good things in life." The comments poured in. "That's not a mom. That's a sister. Rose. JPG. Wow. I know this Andy. She's my friend's godmother. Her cooking is amazing. I'm so envious. Being able to travel the world at retirement age." Mark also left a comment. "Mom looks so much younger." Walter didn't know how to use these things. I heard he took his son's phone and looked at the photos over and over for a long time before murmuring, "Your mom was actually very pretty when she was young. I fell for her at first sight." In the end, they sighed, their eyes red. "It was just a strawberry. We have them at home. Why won't she come back?" They still didn't understand. They stubbornly believed my year-long departure was just because of that one strawberry. Lily scoffed at this. "It's not that they don't understand. They're just pretending not to." The beneficiaries are also silent abusers. They won't acknowledge your value because if they did, they would have to pay for it. They avoid the real issue to protect their own interests. In their eyes, everything is a trivial matter. But the ground is covered in sesame seeds. I thought my daughter was well-read. She was right. In that home for over 30 years, I had accumulated countless sesame seeds, covering the entire floor. I could never finish picking them up on my knees. Only by standing up and walking away from them could I be free. This past year, my days have been full. Besides cooking, I had an automatic washer and dryer for laundry, a dishwasher for the dishes, and even Lily's beautiful German Shepherd could feed itself. I had saved some money. Watching the balance in my bank account grow, I felt more and more secure. I had a plan. If Lily wanted to live with me forever, I would stay with her. If she wanted to get married and have children, I wouldn't interfere. I would help her through her postpartum period and then return to my home country, find a suitable city for retirement, and live by myself. Of course, there was one more important thing to do. After a year and a half in Australia, I returned home. Lily came with me. My old friend picked us up at the airport. It seemed she had found a new partner, but they weren't married. She was very proud of this. Why get married? I'm already halfway to the grave. I just want to experience a little twilight romance. Men can't be relied on. I gave her a thumb up. This friend of mine used to be even more timid than me. The moment her husband died, she became as free as a wild horse. No wonder we had been friends for so many years. We thought alike. When she heard I was back to get a divorce, she immediately introduced me to a lawyer. This lawyer is great. When my unfilial son tried to fight me for the inheritance my old man left and kick me out of the house, she was the one who helped me. The young lady is serious and reliable. I talked to the lawyer, and she said she could help me get half of the house and savings. I decided to give up the house, but take the majority of the savings. That was what Walter owed our daughter. If he wouldn't give it to her, I would. Fearing Walter would disagree, the lawyer directly filed for divorce with the court. After a month of traveling around the country with Lily, the court date arrived. When I saw Walter again, I was shocked. In my memory, he had always been a rather handsome old man. He was good-looking when he was young and had aged well. But now, his temples were gray. His face was covered in new wrinkles, and he looked as if he had aged 20 years in one. He seemed to have been through a great deal. We had been married for over 30 years, and had only been apart for a little over a year. But seeing each other again felt like a lifetime had passed. When he saw me, he looked dazed. Rose, why a divorce? It's been over 30 years. We've been married for half our lives. How did we come to this? I know I was wrong. Our son knows it too. If you don't want to live with us, then you can live with our daughter. Can we just not get a divorce? We started from nothing and came this far. It wasn't easy. How can an old couple separate when they're so close to the end? Rose, please, think about it again. I had never seen Walter speak to me so humbly and pitifully. His cloudy eyes filled with a desperate plea. It was as if my divorcing him was the entire world abandoning him. Oh wait, I had seen it before. Over 30 years ago, when our matchmaking wasn't going well, I had seen him with the same expression. Back then, my parents preferred another suitor because he offered a higher bride price. When Walter heard, he ran all the way from the factory to my house, fell on the way, and lost a shoe. Afraid of being rejected by my parents, he could only hide in the chicken coop behind my house. He waited until dark. When I came out to herd the chickens, he cautiously approached me. Rose, can you not marry that man? Wait for me. I'm getting a promotion soon. I'll save up more money to marry you. A person suddenly appearing in the dark like that nearly made me scream. When I saw it was him, my heart beat even faster. But I didn't say anything for a long time. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, afraid of being too forward but also afraid of losing me. He hit his own head in frustration, then winced from the pain of his earlier fall. His usually eloquent mouth could only stupidly repeat those few sentences. In the moonlight, I saw the same sincere, clean eyes. He said to me, I promise, I will be good to you. If you say east, I won't go west. If you eat meat, I'll drink the soup. As long as you'll marry me. Over 30 years ago, he had confessed his desire to marry me with such sincerity. I had entered our marriage full of hope, only to gradually lose myself in it. Over 30 years later, he was just as earnestly begging me not to divorce him. But my hope in him had long been worn away, leaving only endless weariness. My thoughts returned to the present. I looked at Walter seriously, my voice calm but strangely powerful. Walter, I truly don't want to live with you anymore. It's not because of the strawberry. It's simply because I don't want to be buried with you. I don't want to go into my coffin with the words Walter's wife. I hate the thought of still being branded with your name even in death. As soon as I said it, it was as if a great stone had suddenly been placed on Walter's back, bending his spine. I clearly saw his eyelashes tremble, and the light in his eyes instantly vanished. After a long moment, his lips trembled as he spoke. Rose, I have wronged you. After the divorce, my daughter decided to move back to our home country. She said that while Australia was nice, she missed the place with the red flag. The young couple we were leaving cried their eyes out, hugging me. Mama Rose, how will we live without you? Lily pulled them away, exasperated, rolling her eyes to the heavens. She's my mom. Have you no shame? Didn't she teach you plenty of recipes this past year? Wah. In the 1 month you were gone, we nearly burned down the kitchen twice. Mama Rose, you just wait. I will follow you forever. But where are you going this time? Where were we going? Lily said she was taking me to Yunnan. The weather is like spring all year round. The sky is high and the land is wide. We can open a bed and breakfast, and spend our days with cats and dogs. We can also film vlogs. Don't worry, Mom. It'll make you a huge internet celebrity. We did just that. After opening the BB, I planted all my favorite flowers in it. And even the 2 begonias that my old friend had nearly killed were now thriving. My daughter also filmed me every day, documenting my life of cooking and gardening. Unexpectedly, it became a huge hit. Netizens affectionately called me Auntie Flora Cuisine. Gradually, the BB's reputation grew, and many people came from all over to taste my food. I told Lily, I never thought my little skills in the kitchen could be appreciated by so many people. Lily said, You were just gaslit by those two at home for too long. Once you left them, the outside world is full of good people. Speaking of the father and son, I asked about them. I heard that Walter was now learning to cook by watching my videos online. But he was clumsy and couldn't even steam an egg properly. Still, he cooked tirelessly every day, until Mark and Chloe's faces turned pale from eating his food. I didn't contact the father and son, but I occasionally talked to my daughter-in-law, Chloe, on the phone. My grandson was growing up fast and could now say grandma. Chloe told me privately, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I never realized it before, but since you left, I see that this family is a total mess without a mom. Don't worry. I've yelled at Mark. He does housework and takes care of the baby every day now. I won't let him off easy. I'll raise Leo right, so he doesn't end up like that deadbeat Mark." I waved my hand. Don't say that. We're all women. As Lily says, girls help girls. When I suddenly blurted out the English phrase, Chloe was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter on the other end of the line. My grandson, clueless, giggled along with his mother. On my end, Lily emerged from the garden with a hoe over her shoulder. "Mom, we have guests. They're asking about today's menu." Coming. Don't mess with my flowers. You'll kill them." No way. I refuse to believe that I, a top student, can't even take care of a flower. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, falling on Lily's bright face, just as stubborn as when she was denied her dreams by Walter. I smiled and brushed a fallen leaf from her head. All right. I know you can do it. My daughter, Rose's daughter, can do anything she sets her mind to.